Next up, we've got the AFC West. Again, another division. It's going to be run by the Chiefs until it isn't. Now, I do have them splitting the series with the Broncos. I think at full strength, I think the Broncos and the Chiefs. I think the Broncos could take one. Um, but I still have the Chiefs going 11-6. There's some offensive line uncertainty, but Steve Spagnuolo's got that defense firing on all cylinders. I don't think the Chiefs are going to make it to the I don't think they're even going to make it to the AFC Championship game, but they are going to make the playoffs. I don't really think they're going to make it to the Super Bowl. Um, I think Travis Kelce declining is the biggest issue for the Chiefs right here because he's been the number one guy for Patrick Mahomes, and so once he declines, everyone else on the offense, you kind of need someone else to stick up. Like if you can beat Travis Kelce in single coverage, that opens up a defense to do so many things. If he's lost that step, so I think that's the biggest thing holding the Chiefs back, right? Because they had two number one options in Kelce and Hill for a long time, and now it's just Kelce, and they still were able to win two Super Bowls. But the more Kelce falls off, I think the harder it's going to be. But I mean, 11-6. I think if you're a Chiefs fan, you're still good, right? No hard feelings there. So I still have them winning 11 games. Broncos, I have as the fifth seed, also going 11-6. Um, and I think they end up winning, 11 games, and I think they end up making the playoffs as the fifth seed. Um, that Broncos defense is going to be crazy with Pat Surtain, with all those guys swarming to the ball, making plays. It's going to be a crazy defense. And I was surprised at how well Bo Nix did in his first year. And I'm surprised the Broncos didn't, like, they gave him a safety valve in Evan Ingram, but, he's been hurt. He came from us. And he's a guy, like, I was okay with us letting him go. I kind of wish we kept Christian Kirk, but I was okay with us letting him go. But I'm surprised they didn't get more receivers for Bo Nix. That was a little surprising. But I guess they really trust Cortland Sutton. So I got the Broncos going 11-6, like I said. Um, I think they're going to have a great season. They're going to be a tough out in the playoffs. The Chargers, I have them going 9-8. Now that is a regression from last season, and it's really hard to put it there because I think Jim Harbaugh has them in the right direction. The thing I worry about, I think Rashawn Slater makes a big difference. And last time he got hurt, the Chargers were hurt and I think not having Rashawn Slater also kind of hurts their brand and their identity of football. Enough to have me changing some of my picks to where I had the Chargers originally beating the Jaguars and the Texans. Now I have them losing to both because I think Rashawn Slater losing him makes a big difference. Now they might be able to mitigate that, by the middle of the season and figure that out. But also, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert hasn't beat Trevor Lawrence ever. For some reason, the Jaguars just play the Chargers well. So, and if you can limit the run game, you can do some damage against the Chargers. But again, they have a great team. I still think it's going to be a winning season. I think it's just hard because their starting left tackle is going to end up being hurt, right? I think bringing Keenan Allen back was a good move, but I thought Ladd McConkey kind of thrived in the slot, so I was surprised they brought him back. Um, a lot of, like if the Chargers are traded for someone like DK Metcalf, maybe to like unlock certain levels of their offense, but Jim Harbaugh wants to stick with his football, with his plan of football, which is just pound, pound, pound. John Harbaugh, not Jim. Pound the rock, pound the rock, pound the rock. But I think that's going to be harder to do without a guy like Rashawn Slater. So I got the Chargers going 9-8, and last in the division, I have the Raiders going 6-11. A lot of people are picking the Raiders to like be third or maybe even second in the division, maybe even make the playoffs, which I think would be very interesting. I just don't think Ashton Genty can put the entire team on his back and win. I think Pete Carroll is a great coach, and I drafted Ashton Genty just because I think he's going to be Pete Carroll's Marshawn Lynch, and Pete Carroll loves playing good defense and running the ball. But in order to play good defense, you have to have players on defense. And with Christian Wilkins gone, who wasn't doing that well, if I understand beforehand, they've got Max Crosby resting the passer, fantastic. But who else? No one else has really panned out in the defensive line. I have no idea who their linebackers are. Their offensive line has still struggled. And safety and cornerback position, again, they have a bunch of guys that no one really knows. I think their secondary is probably the weakest part of the team, but having a defensive line with only one like really threatening pass rusher who needs to be consistently double teamed also hurts that part of their team. So the weakest part is the defense, which is why offensive-minded head coach like Pete Carroll is a great addition. But I think Geno Smith will make this team fun. Um, I think having Brock Bowers again will be great for Geno Smith. I think he's going to throw him a lot of passes. Um, I think both are good draft pickups for fantasy football because I think the Raiders are going to be chasing a lot of points. Because again, I don't think their defense is really complete. And again, Ashton Genty, also another guy who's it depends on his workload. Like, again, if you're chasing points, you generally don't run the ball a whole lot. But Pete Carroll likes to run the ball, so they might still end up doing that. Um, and they recently signed Amari Cooper, but now Jacoby Myers went out. And I think I could see a little bit more of the Raiders, maybe getting a couple more wins if you got Amari Cooper and Jacoby Myers on the field. But Amari Cooper didn't make as much of an impact with the Bills as we thought. So don't know if it's like a sign of bigger things to come or just a down year for him, but I guess we'll end up seeing. But I got the Raiders at 6-11.